Hello everyone, I'm Doug with B&H. Today I have Bobby with G Technology. He's here to talk to us about hard drives and their place in VR production. We have to store a lot of video these days. So what are some of the challenges, broadly speaking, that have come as of 2016 for storage?
First and foremost, capacity, right? So I mean, as you mentioned, the faster frame rates, certainly the higher resolution, bigger bit depth, all of that just accounts for enormous file sizes, right? So it's not just doubling, it's quadrupling sometimes. And you get these camera rigs now, and now it's just not one camera shooting at, say, 2.7 or 4K at 60 frames a second. You actually have 7 cameras in this rig. Capacity is a big deal, but then we often find that once the media comes off the cameras, we need storage that has fast enough read and write speeds so it can keep up with dumping that many memory cards all at the same time. You don't want to spend all that time doing one memory card at a time. In the case here, dumping 7 memory cards all at one time, that speed increases if you have some pretty good attached storage there that can have a good throughput.
The same also applies to editing as well, because you need to access that.
Well, I would say it applies even more so to editing, because with the editing, then you're going to really want speeds that are much higher. So in this case, this would be a drive getting about 400 to 500 megabytes a second, an SSD workflow, getting the memory off. But then when I'm starting to work with that data, whether it be in VR world stitching or in the video world with the non-linear editor actually doing the video editing, I'm going to want something that can get me much faster speeds to be working with. Still maybe with some proxies, compressed proxies working with the 4K media, but you still need something fast enough to deal with that 4K. So it's often a 4, 6, or even an 8-bay RAID.
So I know that G Technology has been directly involved in some VR productions. What was that like, really, from setting up the cameras to ingesting the footage to then delivering that footage into the edit?
Yeah, the best way to learn about any workflow is actually subjecting yourself to it. And I think with VR, it's one thing to take media off the camera, but it's another thing to really learn about how you actually shoot with VR. So what we found is, there's just a lot of preparation. It's not just one camera anymore. You have to make sure that all cameras are properly charged, and when you're ready for the shoot, everything needs to be synchronized for the start. For better automatic stitching later, you have to do things like maybe do a swirl the tripod, or do some sound clicks so that you're able to quickly synchronize all the cameras together. You want to make sure you number your cameras, you number the media, because you're no longer just dealing with one camera's media, now you're dealing with 7 camera media. And everything on the floor is in the shot now. So even things like sweeping the floor because there's a leaf there that wasn't there before. So continuity actually becomes much more difficult. What are the challenges with the media cards? What are the challenges in how we get the media cards into a reader that can actually handle offloading all the cards at once? How do we get that into a good edit environment or a good onset drive? And that's been the focus, and I think that's really helped us create better products for the workflow.
For these, for example, how many gigs to a minute are we talking? Like how much do you get out of that production?
Even if it's just like 10 minutes of a shoot, you're talking about hundreds of gigs of data. You can certainly reduce that by shooting in a lower resolution. So 1440p seems to be a good low resolution to shoot in, but often you'll find that you're going to want to shoot that in 60 frames, or you're going to be shooting maybe 2.7K is also quite common. So really it's, what the resolution is set at is going to kind of dictate that a little bit. I think what happens is with VR, we have a tendency to shoot shorter periods of time just because it's so much data. But my feeling is that as you're trying to capture significant events, whether it be a sporting event or certain experiences, you don't want to be limited to, say, those 3 to 5 minutes. You're probably going to want to start doing some longer form 10, 20-minute shots, and that really puts a stress on the media. So you really have to be prepared. It's not just about having memory cards, but it's about having the right types of data, drives to be able to offload that data to, have shuttle drives, and then also redundancy and backup. It's that organization, right? So it's just more to deal with, and you have to be incredibly organized to make sure you never lose a shot.
What's around the corner, maybe in the next 3 years, 5 years, for storage technology?
Yeah, so we were talking about getting things into that 6-bay, 8-bay RAID. The reason why we go into those larger RAID devices is often it's capacity, but it's also speed. The only way you can get those transfer speeds or the read-write speeds to be well over a gig a second is that you have to work with those 6 8-bay devices. What we see in the future is, instead of connecting drives via SATA 3, we'll have NVMe is essentially a new tech that allows for PCIe to be connected directly to the drives. And so that essentially gives you a much bigger bandwidth. So now you can be speaking to a flash device, a 2.5-inch flash device, at well over 2 gigs a second on a single drive.
I think that size that you bring up, what you currently require is probably the most intimidating aspect, especially later on down the line when you have to manage that data in post. So what products, coming soon maybe, or are brand new, does G Technology have to assist in VR workflows?
In the case of this workflow, when I'm bringing it back to the RAID, for example, we've got a G-Speed Studio RAID that has 6 or 8 bays. The drives we use there go all the way to 10 terabytes. So you can have a 60 terabyte 6-bay RAID that has 2 adapters that accept these EV carts. So once I've offloaded this media, I would be taking this cart drive back to the studio. This is what we call an EV raw drive. This is the SSD. And then that would plug directly into that 6-bay RAID, so I can basically ingest the data and start working with it either in the stitching software or in the nonlinear video editor as well. We have this product called the Shuttle, and so the Shuttle, G-Speed Shuttle XL, is essentially a rugged 6-bay or 8-bay RAID, and it was designed with the on-set production in mind. It actually has a big handle on top. You carry it from spot to spot on the production, but it was also designed to be very thin, and the thinking was we designed it to fit perfectly into a 1510 size Pelican case, and we even offer custom foam cut Pelican cases for them. So that way you can ship them, you can check them in, but since it also comes in that 1510 size, you can actually carry it on the plane with you, so 80 terabytes of storage to go.
I'm glad that it fits on the carry-on because my drives come with me when I'm in flight. I never leave my drives on the stowaway, never. Knowing where the technology is and what it has necessitated for drives and knowing where it's going is amazing. And thank you for showing me all this because I can't wait to know how much video I have to store soon. So again, everybody, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. This is Bobby from G-Tech. So long.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.